Welcome back to the Hangar with Xcraft, and in part 14 of the Trumpeter 32nd skill TBD Devastator build. Wow, that's getting to be a mouthful. We are going to discuss how we got to here. I had to remove this cowl for painting. I just made it a little bit easier to do the cowl ring. So we're going to discuss how we got here with the painting, what products I used, and we're also going to be doing the walkways, and I'm going to show you a little tutorial on and how I go about doing that. And if anybody's got any better ideas, something that looks better, I'm always open for better ideas. Put it down in the comments if you got a link or something to someone else's technique. I'm always open for that kind of stuff. Anything that can make a model look better. So hang on, and I'm going to get set up here, and I'll be right back. Through movie magic, we're back here a couple days later, and my yellow paint hasn't shown up. I was hoping to make a trip to Grand Rapids, but that kind of fell through, so I had to order it. So I haven't got the yellow paint, but I went ahead and I got the masking done, and I painted off the top of the wings and slightly around the leading edge here, because it does come underneath, it does wrap around the wing. And so I sprayed white first, uses the base coat for yellow. Yellow is a transparent paint, so you need white, or I've read some people use pink. I've never used pink. White has always worked really well for me. I feel like you get a truer color for what the color in the bottle is. If you're looking for something that has a slightly different tint to it, then yeah, maybe doing a pink would be what you'd want to do. But this is just what I found, that white always works well for me. And when you mask off, don't mask off just when you're going to airbrush, just what you think you're going to have a problem getting paint on. Mask off everything. I can't tell you how many times that I have done masking and I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be airbrushing, I'm going to be away from there, and so I'll leave an area uncovered, and a big mistake, because overspray, you'll end up with fine overspray on those areas you don't have masked. Now the tail is going to be painted blue, so I didn't bother masking that, but I did do the bottom of this, the bottom of the wing all the way back here, so when I sprayed this edge, I could spray this way, keep me away from that edge of the tape too, so it helps eliminate bleeding. Because with all these ribs, or the corrugations I should say, in the wing structure on the top, and it wraps around here, it's kind of hard, I think, to get that tape to seal well around there, so you don't want to spray paint directly on that line and have it wick under. So I blow this way, so then my paint is moving this direction, and I get a real thin layer right on that tape line. So hopefully we won't have any issues there. The back side of the back side of the wing, it just stops right at the back. It does not wrap under. So this is our base coat. Once we get the yellow, we'll be getting that sprayed on. And also one more thing, these came. So we have the decals now for doing a blue tail, and now this particular decal set, this one has a black fuselage stripe and a black cowl. We're going to make some modifications, I think, using the numbers and whatever we have in here, to do the blue cowl, blue stripe, blue tail. That's kind of my tentative plan right now. I change my plan so many times that this might not hold true. We might end up doing something different, but for now, that is the plan. So once I get that yellow paint, we'll get that sprayed, and then we'll get after this tail section. So for now, this is what we got. We got some white primer for the wings. So you can see here, we've gone ahead and gotten the yellow painted on the top of the wings. We got the fuselage band painted, and we got the nose of the cowl painted. I ended up removing this just to make it a little bit easier to work on it. So we got all our yellow painted. We got the blue tail painted. And for these, I decided to use, for the blue, Vallejo Air French Blue, which is their 71.088 French Blue. And that looked to me like a pretty good match for what was on the tail. And then for the yellow, I used Mission Models. And this is Highway Yellow, or Heavy Equipment Yellow. I'm going to tag over this. MP041, I think. It's under a tag, so I can't read it. So, anyways, this I thought was a pretty good match for this yellow also, from what I've seen in photos. I've seen where some call out lemon yellow, but I think lemon yellow is way too bright, too vibrant for what we want to do here. So, alright, so we're at the stage here where we're going to do the walkways now. I have them taped off, and rather than, they come with decals, and I just took this one off, cut it out of the sheet to use as a template, so I knew there's several panel lines that go through here, and these walkways go right along these panel lines. But I wanted to make sure I got them right. So it's going to be like this here. One on each side. And for this, we're going to use, I just got this old brush. It's in kind of okay shape. Yeah, it's a little bit stiff. It's got some uneven bristles. Again, like I mentioned before, I keep all my old brushes for doing stuff like this. So now we're not just going to paint it. Because if we just paint it, it's just going to look painted. We want to try to give it a texture. So we're going to be dabbing until we have that yellow completely covered. And since we're dabbing it like this, it's going to be a little bit rough, and it'll have some texture, so it'll look more scale than just brush painting or airbrushing. I used to airbrush these all the time, you know, and that's fine. They look okay, but then I decided that I thought they needed some texture for grip. But of course, you don't want to over exaggerate that texture, because then by the time you scale it up, it would be way too aggressive. If that makes sense. Okay, we're just gonna, while we do that side, while we do this other side, we're just going to let that set. We'll go back, do another coat on it. And you see, you might be able to tell I'm twirling my brush here like I usually do when I'm painting like this. However, in this case, it isn't really necessary. We're just looking for full coverage on the yellow. And for this, I'm just using this Vallejo Air NATO Black. There's nothing special about that paint. I always go NATO Black because there's no like really true black out there, you know, from what you would see on something like this. So this has a little more, when it dries, it's a little more muted. I don't want to say it's grayish, but it is definitely not a true black, and we don't want that anyway. Okay, so now let's go back over to this side, do the same thing again. it's not going to take as much work this time. Again, we're just trying to get the full coverage. I think we're going to have to air dry this a little bit. I'm going to air dry this and I will be right back. Okay, we have our first coat of black on the walkways dried here, so we're just going to go back and recoat these again. And these are going to get a couple more layers anyway. Show what we're going to do to weather them a little bit. So if they're not perfect, we'll be covering it some more anyway. But let's try to get it as good as we can right now. If you can see that. Notice how it's not shiny. Now this is not a shiny paint to start with, but there is a texture there, and I'll try to get a still photograph of that and put up here so you can see that. So here you can see the completed walkways. I neglected to get a photograph before I actually finished them out with the multiple layers. So I'm showing you this so you can see the texture. However, this is the completed product at this point. That's all a result of our dabbing the paint, not brushing or spraying the paint. I have airbrushed many a walkways, and they look fine. They look fine. We just want them to look more fine. Okay, so we're going to air dry this again, and then we'll move on to our next step. So our second layer of black on our walkways is dry, and now we want to give it a little bit of weathering. Make it look a little bit used. So we've got our really cheap old nasty stiff bristle brush here, and we're just gonna do some dabbing here. Now, this is probably way overdone, but we're gonna go back over this with black anyway to tone it down, because I don't want it, glaring. Like, to me, that's too weathered. But we need something to work with. I have better luck doing this and then bringing it back down than just tempering the look using the black just very lightly over top. And if you can see there, I'm spinning the brush. So we have a randomness to the pattern. We don't want a pattern. Okay. So there we go. And that, I just used Model Air Silver, nothing special. Don't need anything special there. Okay, now I think I'm going to try something a little bit different here. And this one, I'm going to go over it with some dark sea gray to give it another layer. this is just model air. Dark sea gray 71.053 FS36099. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to use the little fatter brush that I used with the black. And my goal here is to kind of give it a little bit of a blotchy, uneven look. And that dark sea gray is really dark, so it goes pretty well with the black. It's not so different that it's obvious. That makes sense. Okay, so we're going to stick with that right there. Then we're going to do the same thing over here. And this is going to help cover a little bit of that silver. And then when we're done with this, we're going to go back over it with the black again. Again, we're doing layers. So layers give it a more natural look, in my opinion. There may be people out there that disagree with me. I am sure there are people out there that disagree with me. And that's okay. Everyone has their own way of doing stuff. This is the way I do it. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my black. I'm going to use the same brush I was using for the dark gray. And we just want to tone down the silver so it doesn't look too bright and obvious. Okay, there's gonna be some areas that are gonna show through just a little bit, and that's fine. There are gonna be that would be real life places where the walkway paint is starting to wear off, but the silver hasn't really come through strong yet. If you hit some areas with a little bit too much, don't worry about it. There's gonna be spots where nothing is wore off. Or if you think you went over it too much and you hid too much of your silver, then just go back with some more silver. Dry it out and go back. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and peel this paint, or this tape, sorry. Oh, something else I wanted to point out. Don't install the flaps until later on. I broke this one off, so we're gonna have to glue it back on. They're a little too fragile to be messing around with. So wait on those, along with your antennas and whatnot. Okay. All right, we're gonna get this unmasked and dry her out, and be right back. Okay, just a quick recap on what we've done here. The tail has been sprayed with the French blue. Little tricky taping it off along the leading edge of those surfaces. As they're rounded, it's not just straight across, but it turned out pretty good, I think. Here you can see the wings have been sprayed. Here I used Insignia White from Vallejo, and it's just a nice base coat underneath the yellow. The yellow on the wings has been sprayed using the Mission models and the cowl band and the fuselage band have been sprayed. And finally, the walkways. Here's a shot from the front, and here's a shot from the rear. I think these turned out pretty good. I may go back and touch them up a little bit. We got to paint the fuel caps yet, but overall I think they're pretty good. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Hit the notifications button so you'll find out when there's other videos coming out. And tell your friends. And as always, keep your fingers out of the glue.